guys, so we're back talking some more of the Lord of the Rings of Power this week with episode 3. The storylines, they're finally kind of falling into place a little bit. We do have less storylines to focus on in this episode. We're just focusing on 3 storylines, even though it's majority 2 storylines. The third one doesn't get a whole lot of development. We are finally getting some connective tissue amongst the storylines because I was kind of getting worried exactly where the story was going to lead with all these different plot threads. Finally, we get something in episode 3. Of our 3 plot lines, Galadriel and Halbrand has the most going for it after they're rescued. It does lead to them introducing some familiar characters to the Lord of the Rings, like Isildur and Elendil, his father, since they are taking both of them to the island kingdom of Numenor, which looks absolutely gorgeous, mind you. The show is so expensive, and you can see where the money is going into this when we get to Numenor. It's absolutely gorgeous, the attention to detail, the scale of Numenor, it's stunning. Sure, it is a bit awkward when we do get there because they're not a big fan of elves, and you have Elendil bringing them there anyway, so they get a lot of weird stares. Obviously, any fan of Lord of the Rings is familiar with Isildur, the future king of Gondor, cut off the One Ring from Sauron, tried to bend the ring to its will. Not that any of that stuff really matters in the context of the show because it's far into the future, but as far as the introduction to a younger Isildur, it's an okay introduction. There's really not a whole lot to his character within this very first episode he appears in. It's really just your standard introduction. We do see a little bit of that personality and that he's an adventurous character, but a large portion of the episode is focused more on his father, Elendil, who I actually quite liked a bit more than Isildur in this episode. It was nice to get to see more development for Elendil, a character we haven't really seen all that much in live action. We do see a lot in this interpretation of the character in Rings of Power. He is a very noble man and trying to do what's right in his eyes, regardless of what everyone thinks, including the Queen. Like we saw, he brought elves to Numenor when they're not supposed to be here. Even if I did enjoy Galadriel in the first 2 episodes, it is a bit harder in episode 3 to get a read on the character. You can definitely very clearly see she is determined, but at the very same time, she is quite cold to most people in the episode. She certainly isn't a great negotiator. She's demanding ships back to Middle-earth from the Queen, and then when she does get sent away, she just goes and tries to steal one anyway, and that does lead to her inevitably running into Elendil once again when she's trying to steal the ships. Elendil seems to be the one that is able to get Galadriel to open up the most, at least so far in the series. It did take him speaking Elvish though. Up until that point, it seemed like Galadriel was ready to just murder him right there on the spot. But because of that, they do bond a little bit and they do go right off to the Hall of Law. And that is where we finally get some developments for, I guess, the plot of the show, where we're leading with Sauron, piecing all of these things together on what his potential plan is in the Southlands. I did kind of feel bad for Halbrand this episode. He's trying his best to try and work things through with Galadriel, and Galadriel just wants nothing to do with this man. I mean, we just saw her ride off and not even care about this man at all till the very end of the episode. And since they are separated, there really isn't as much for Halbrand to do. When we do cut back to him here and there, it's kind of just weird shenanigans where he's trying to steal stuff. He has a little bit of a fight, gets thrown in jail. But it seems like we're setting him up later on in the episode to be more important when some of his backstory is finally revealed to us. It is nice, though, to see this show having converging storylines, at least slowly, because they're not coming together quickly or anything, but we are seeing those developments in the Southland with Arondir as he was captured by the orcs and being forced into doing hard slave labor, which was horrifying to me. I felt awful with this entire sequence because we do see there are a lot of other people being forced into hard labor by the orcs, and it's pretty violent. You know, several of these other characters that are in this camp with Arondir trying to revolt against the orcs, we see them brutally murdered. It certainly felt a bit odd seeing the level of violence and blood in the episode compared to everything else in the Lord of the Rings, but I guess that's Amazon for you. As we did in Galadriel's storyline, we do get little tidbits of info about Sauron's plan and what they're building up in the Southlands. We don't get a whole lot of info in the episode. It is still extremely vague. I hope we don't continue to stretch things out so much in this show. We get a little bit more definitive answers as it progresses. The real best part of this entire storyline to me personally was the big battle that ensued. Arondir, the other prisoners fighting off the orcs and other creatures along the way. It doesn't really amount to anything substantial in the story because we just see more prisoners get killed and Arondir does not escape, but the battle itself, it was cool. Lastly, the plot thread with the least development is the one involving the Harfoots and the Stranger, the Meteor Man, whichever term you want to use for him. We are still continuing that mystery element here of who exactly this man is. I'm not really sure. I mean, there are lots of speculation that it's going to be some sort of Ishtari wizard. Maybe it's Sauron. Who really knows? But all I know is I personally don't really trust him all that much. I mean, he does end up calling Nori his friend, which was, I guess, kind of sweet to some people. But to me, I'm just skeptical about him. It was a lot of fun though seeing Nori run around and try and steal things to try and help out the stranger regardless. It was kind of funny when the stranger accidentally reveals himself to all of the Harfoots and they freak out to the point where they almost kick Nori and her family out of the caravan entirely. But it seems like for now, we're going to continue this mysterious journey where this stranger tags along with them. I don't know. I'm just suspicious of this guy. I mean, we'll wait and see. I figure by the end of the season, we'll figure out the true identity of this stranger. But we do set up some interesting plot threads for episode 4 and on. One is something I already mentioned, which is the truth behind the lineage of Halbrand. And the other one is the one that I'm more predominantly intrigued by. It seems like this orc camp is led by someone named Adar, and I'm not entirely sure who this person is supposed to be. They end the episode before revealing what he looks like, but from his faded out silhouette, he looked almost human or elf-like, which seems kind of odd to me to have an elf leading orcs. That would probably mean the elf is evil, I assume, which seems odd and out of place compared to all of the rest of the Lord of the Rings, but nevertheless, that seems where we're going. We'll have to find out the answers to that in the next episode. All around, I mean, the episode itself was fine. I am glad that we're finally getting some story developments in episode 3, where exactly we're taking the story in the Rings of Power, but I would be lying if I didn't say I want a little bit more from this show, especially compared to something like House of the Dragon that I'm also watching weekly. You can definitely see the difference qualities when it comes to the storylines between them, not to put them against each other. But now that you've heard my thoughts on the Rings of Power episode 3, make sure you share your thoughts down below. What do you think of episode 3? Did you like the episode, dislike the episode? Share all your thoughts and theories down below in the comment section. It's part of the fun is having that conversation with you guys in the comment section down below. As always, thank you guys so much for checking out the reviews. I do appreciate that. Make sure to leave a like on the video and also subscribe to the channel so you always update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. Next time, I'll see you guys later.